Hello everyone, this is Enormous with Tech Defense, and today I'm going to bring you the threat down for the week ending July 22nd, 2012. Our first story up this week comes from Network World, titled Cyber Criminals No Longer Control the Third Largest Spam Botnet. If there's one thing we could all agree on, and I think that's that spam is bad. I don't think there's anyone that's going to disagree with that. So FireEye teamed up with a bunch of security researchers from various groups to attack one of the largest spam botnets in the world. This botnet called Grum was responsible for roughly 18% of all spam. Uh, so this team was able to track down where these CNC servers were, uh, contact the appropriate folks to get them taken down, and stick with it until they were actually taken out. So good on you, FireEye. Our next story up is Black Hat 2012 Hackers to Explore Malware Analysis Next Gen Attacks. So, should come to no surprise to anyone listening to this that malware evasion techniques are definitely growing in sophistication. And not just sophistication, but in use. Um, so, this Black Hat, there's actually going to be 3 or 4 talks focusing on that subject specifically. So they're going to go over common evasion techniques, who's using them, and some of the new tools available to researchers. And one of them is actually going to take those tools and run it through a malware database with, I guess, several 100,000, if I remember correctly, different samples in it, just to see how good these techniques that we're trying to leverage now actually are. For those of you interested to hear more about malware analysis, you can also check out this week and last week's tech tip where we focus on basic dynamic malware analysis. Next up is Mahdi cyber espionage malware infects computers in Iran, Israel, and other Middle Eastern countries. So Mahdi is your typical spying malware that's going to collect keystrokes and various other information from your machine, sending it back to whoever happened to infect your machine. It's not entirely clear whether this is state-sponsored or not. At least no one's really owning up to that. There's been previous cases that we've talked about in previous threat downs where the governments of these particular groups decided that they wanted to keep an eye on their hacktivist and had that malware targeted towards them. But this could be something different entirely. Not really sure at this point. But we can say that there's approximately 800-ish infected users based on some sinkholes that were put up by security researchers. Next story is HP warns that malware writers getting harder to track and combat. It's kind of a weird one. We don't see HP putting out articles all that often, but they're talking about a subject that we kind of hit on in our second story. With malware analysis on the rise and people being smarter on the forensic side, attackers are going to have to up their game, and they have upped their game. And HP here warns about that, talking about how not only are they getting harder to track and combat, but they're also getting a little more sophisticated in their attacks. Well, I don't know if I'd say sophisticated, but at least more efficient, right? So they know what attacks work. They're not going to try to overkill the solution there. They're going to apply just the amount of the least amount of effort needed in order to be effective, and they're doing that. So some say even up to 80% of these attacks that they're leveraging are successful because they're updating these exploit kits so often to hit the latest Java, latest Adobe issues. For the last story of the day, we have Hacktivist lift emails passwords from OilBiz in support of Greenpeace. So, here's Anonymous again. They went ahead and, through various methods, were able to get some emails and passwords from some of the major players in the oil business, Exxon and the like. Um, they say, while they're not working with Greenpeace, they do support what they're doing there. And because they support and like what they're doing there, they are going to continue to gather up this kind of information and release it publicly. This one was released to Pastebin, like pretty much all of them are, where emails and passwords and various other personal information was released to the general public. Well, that is it for this week's edition of the Threat Down. Unfortunately, this week was kind of quiet after having last week's, Yahoo voice breach and Nvidia's breach. I guess that's a good thing. We don't need those types of breaches every week. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. And if you like this, please check out our previous threat downs and of course our tech tips over at techdefense.com. Thank you.